Good evening, my little creatures of the night. Mr. Wendigo back again, and boy, have I got a tale that'll leave you absolutely star-struck with terror tonight. Deep space, 4 months into a 6-month rotation, where the nearest help is 8 light minutes away and the only thing between you and the infinite black is 8 inches of metal. Where Earth is just a blue marble in the window, and home feels like another lifetime. The Navajo elders understood something about sacred ground. They passed down warnings for generations because some mistakes you don't get to make twice. Daniel Yazzie thought distance would matter, thought taking something dangerous as far from home as possible would keep people safe. His grandmother's dying wish, take it far away. And where's farther than space itself? He meant well. He really did. Well, let's just say his crew is about to learn why his grandmother wanted it gone. This is your late night creature feature. When the dead start walking in zero gravity, there's nowhere left to run. Before we begin, I'm curious, where are you listening from tonight? Alone in your room? Driving through empty roads? Walking through the woods? Drop a comment and let me know. I like knowing who's out there in the dark with me. Now then, let's talk about what happens when you bring a Skinwalker to the stars. They all look like me. Space horror story. Look, isolation does things to you. 4 months on a research station spinning through deep space, and you start forgetting what real air tastes like, what grass feels like under your feet, the weight of Earth's pull. You remember it, sure, but it stops feeling real, like a dream you had once that's fading around the edges. Daniel Yazzie floated through the hub module, his hand trailing along the handrail more from habit than need. The station hummed its constant song, air recyclers, power conduits. The slow, steady spin that gave them just enough centrifugal force to keep coffee in cups and people from completely losing their sense of up and down. 4 months down, 8 weeks to go. His personal quarters were small, everybody's were. 6 meters by 4, sleeping bag velcroed to the wall that passed for a bed, storage lockers. One window showing the infinite black and, if you timed it right, Earth sliding past every 93 seconds during rotation. He opened his locker, the one he'd labeled personal items, D, Yazzie. The pouch sat right where he'd left it, small, leather, darkened with age and oil from his grandmother's hands. He touched it every day for 4 months, just to remember, just to feel connected to something older than NASA, older than the station, older than the dream of space itself. Daniel pulled it out, held it. The leather was warm probably from being in the locker near the heating duct. That made sense. That was logical. He unwrapped it carefully. Inside, the soil from 4 corners, dark earth from where Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado met, sacred ground, his grandmother's birthplace. And buried in the soil, the small piece of carved bone. It had symbols etched into the surface, traditional markings. He'd studied them enough to recognize the style, but not enough to read them completely. Protection, maybe, or containment. The old knowledge was fading, even among those who tried to keep it alive. The bone felt warm too, warmer than it should. Daniel wrapped it back up, put it away, closed the locker. He'd made a promise, his grandmother's last words, spoken in a hospice room that smelled like sage and dying. Take it far from here, as far as you can go. Keep our people safe. And he had, 600 kilometers above Earth, traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. You couldn't get much farther than that and still be in the same solar system. She'd rest easier knowing it was gone, away from the reservation, away from the community. Whatever danger it represented, he'd removed it. That's what he told himself. The intercom crackled. Morning brief in 10, people. Don't make me hunt you down. Commander Sarah Chen's voice carried the particular tone of someone who'd been in the military long enough that everything sounded like an order, even breakfast invitations. Daniel pushed off toward the command module, floating through the connecting tunnel. The station wasn't huge, just 6 modules arranged in a wheel configuration, command hub in the center. Lab, medical, crew quarters, storage, and observation deck surrounding it. Efficient, isolated, safe. The crew was already gathering when he arrived. Commander Sarah Chen floated near the communications console, her dark hair pulled back in the tight bun she'd worn every single day for 4 months. Mid-40s, Air Force, before NASA, the kind of person who color-coded her schedule and actually stuck to it. She ran the station like she'd run everything else in her life by the book, no exceptions, no excuses. Dr. Jim Kowalski was attempting to drink coffee from a squeeze bottle while simultaneously pulling up the day's schedule on his tablet. Late 30s, perpetually cheerful in the way that either meant genuine optimism or deep psychological denial. Medical officer and biochemist. He'd been Daniel's best friend since training. The kind of guy who'd crack jokes during emergency drills and somehow make everyone feel better about simulated disasters. "Morning, Danny," Jim said, grinning. "Sleep well? Dream of Earth? Real gravity? Burgers?" "Every night," Daniel said. "You?" "I dreamed we had fresh vegetables. Woke up disappointed." Jim made an exaggerated sad face. Day 123 of eating reconstituted whatever the hell this is. Yuki Tanaka drifted past, already deep in some diagnostic readout on her portable screen. Early 30s, systems engineer, the person who actually kept the station running when things broke, which was constantly. Quiet, observant, the kind of engineer who noticed when a sound changed pitch by half a hertz and knew exactly which component was failing. She glanced up, gave Daniel a small nod, then returned to her screen. She'd been like that since day one, present but distant, comfortable in her own head. Marcus Webb was the last to arrive, pulling himself through the hatch with the slightly too careful movements of someone still not completely comfortable in microgravity. Late 20s, junior scientist, first mission. He'd spent the first 2 weeks throwing up and the next 2 months overcompensating with enthusiasm. "Morning, everyone." Marcus's voice carried the forced brightness of someone determined to enjoy every second of living his dream, even when his dream involved recycled air and freeze-dried meals. Day 123, 57 days until relief crew. "Thank you, Marcus," Chen said dryly. "We all have the same countdown clock." Dr. Elena Volkov floated in last, moving with the easy grace of someone who'd done this before. Early 50s, Russian astrophysicist, 3 previous station missions under her belt. She'd seen it all, done it all. Nothing rattled her. "Good morning," she said, her accent still thick despite decades speaking English. "I trust we are all ready for another thrilling day of cosmic radiation measurements and equipment maintenance." "Living the dream," Jim said. Chen pulled up the schedule. "All right, people. Standard rotation today. Elena, you're on the telescope array. There's a solar event that might give us interesting data. Yuki, life support diagnostic. I'm seeing some fluctuations in the CO2 scrubbers that I don't like. Marcus, you're with her. Daniel, you're on the geological sample analysis. We've got those core samples from New Mexico that came up on the last resupply." Daniel felt something cold slide down his spine. "New Mexico samples?" he said carefully. "Yeah, part of the baseline contamination study. Soil samples from various regions." Chen scrolled through the manifest. "Looks like Jemez Mountains, White Sands, and where the hell is this? Coordinates only. Some badlands near the Four Corners area." The cold feeling spread. "When did those arrive?" Daniel asked. Chen frowned at him. 2 days ago. "Why? You okay? You look weird." "I'm fine. Just I'll get on that analysis." Jim was watching him with the particular expression of someone who knew his friend well enough to know when something was wrong. "Danny, you sure you're good?" "Yeah, just didn't sleep great." That was a lie. He'd slept fine, until about 3 in the morning when he'd woken up convinced someone was standing in his quarters, but that was just isolation, playing tricks. That was normal. Everyone had moments like that on long missions. The briefing continued. Maintenance schedules, communication windows with ground control. Someone's birthday next week, they'd break out the special freeze-dried ice cream. The mundane rhythm of life on a research station where every day was exactly like the last except for the slowly changing date on the calendar. Daniel barely heard any of it. 4 Corners. The samples were from 4 Corners. The same region where his grandmother was born, where the pouch of soil in his locker came from, where things were buried that should stay buried. It was coincidence. Had to be. NASA collected samples from all over. There was nothing. "All right, dismissed," Chen said. "Let's make it a good day, people. 57 more of these and we're home." The crew dispersed. Jim caught Daniel's arm as he pushed toward the lab module. "Hey, seriously, you okay?" Daniel forced a smile. "Yeah, man, just homesick. You know how it gets." "I know how it gets. I also know when you're bullshitting me." Jim's eyes were concerned behind his glasses. "You've been weird the last couple days. Jumpy." "You're not sleeping." "I'm fine, Jim, really. If you need to talk." "I know. Thanks. I'm good. Just ready to be done, you know?" Jim studied him for another moment, then nodded. "Yeah, me too. See you at lunch?" "Yeah, see you at lunch." Daniel floated toward the lab, his mind racing. It was fine. Everything was fine. The samples were just samples. The pouch in his locker was just soil and a piece of carved bone. His grandmother had wanted it taken away because it was important to her, not because it was dangerous. He was overthinking. Space did that to you, made you superstitious, made you see patterns where there were none. The lab module was empty when he arrived. He pulled himself to the sample storage unit and checked the manifest. NM47B. Soil sample. 4 Corners region. Coordinates. Specific numbers. Depth. 1.2 meters. Collection date. 3 months ago. Priority. Standard. He pulled up the collection site on the database. The satellite image loaded slowly over the lag. When it finally appeared, Daniel's hand started shaking. He knew that place. Mesa Escabada, the badlands north of Naaldlooshii, where the wind never stopped and the ground was red like old blood, where his grandmother had told him stories as a child about the things that walked at night, where certain areas were avoided, even by people who'd stopped believing in the old ways decades ago, where witches were buried when they died, where Naaldlooshii skinwalkers were laid to rest in the ground and sealed with rituals that predated the reservation system, predated statehood, predated everything European that had ever touched this land. The sample had come from 1.2 meters down, grave depth. Daniel's chest felt tight. His heart hammered against his ribs in a way that had nothing to do with microgravity or recycled air. He'd been trained for this, educated at MIT, 2 master's degrees. He was a scientist. He dealt in data and evidence and peer-reviewed research. But he was also Navajo, raised by a grandmother who'd made sure he knew the stories, knew the warnings, knew that some things were true whether white academics believed them or not. And every instinct he had, the ones that came from generations of people who'd survived in hard country by paying attention to things that didn't add up, was screaming that something was wrong. He checked the sample container. Sealed, intact. The soil inside looked normal, dark earth, small rocks, nothing unusual. He should analyze it. That was his job. That was the schedule. Instead, he closed the container and pushed away from it. His grandmother's voice in his memory. Take it far from here, as far as you can go. And another memory, older, her hand on his shoulder when he was maybe 8 years old, standing at the edge of Mesa Escabada at sunset. Some ground is bad, grandson. Not cursed, that's the wrong word, just bad. Where bad things were done, where bad things are buried. You feel it when you're there, a wrongness. You listen to that feeling, always. He'd felt it then, felt it every time they drove past that area on the way to Farmington or Durango, a prickling on the back of his neck, a sense of being watched by things that didn't want you there. And he felt it now. The intercom crackled. "Daniel, you started on those samples yet?" Chen's voice. "Ground control wants preliminary analysis by end of shift." He hit the comm button. "Yeah, Commander. Just setting up. I'll have something for you in a few hours." "Good. Chen out." Daniel floated there in the lab, surrounded by the hum of equipment and the whisper of air circulation, and felt very far from home. Very far from help. Very far from the people who'd know what to do if he was right about what he suspected. His hand drifted to his pocket, where he'd started carrying the turquoise pendant his grandmother had given him when he'd left for college. Small, smooth, warm from his body heat. "Protection," she'd said. He hoped she was right. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of routine. He ran the basic analysis on the New Mexico samples, chemical composition, particulate density, biological markers, all normal. All exactly what you'd expect from desert soil. He filed the preliminary report and tried not to think about the fact that normal didn't mean safe. Lunch was the usual affair. Rehydrated, something that claimed to be chicken and vegetables. Marcus talked about the view from the observation deck that morning they'd passed over South America and he'd actually seen the Amazon through a break in the clouds. Elena discussed the solar radiation data with the enthusiasm of someone who genuinely loved her work. Jim made jokes about the food that everyone had heard before but still got polite laughs. Daniel picked at his meal and said little. "You sure you're okay?" Jim asked quietly while the others were debating something about orbital mechanics. "You've barely said 10 words all day." "Just tired." "Danny, I'm fine, man, really." Jim looked like he wanted to push it, but Yuki's voice cut through the conversation. "Commander, I'm getting some weird readings from the life support diagnostic." Chen was immediately focused. Define weird. "Temperature fluctuations in sections C and D. Nothing critical, but the pattern doesn't match any normal variation. And..." Yuki frowned at her tablet. "This doesn't make sense. Motion sensors in section C are registering movement, but no one's assigned there right now." "Equipment glitch," Chen said. "Run it again." "I've run it 3 times. Same result." Marcus leaned over to look at the screen. "Maybe the sensors are picking up the rotation, loose equipment shifting." "Sensors are calibrated for rotation," Yuki said. "This is reading as deliberate movement, like someone walking through the section." A small silence fell over the table. "Okay," Chen said. "After lunch, Yuki, you and I will check it out. Probably a sensor malfunction, but let's verify. Daniel, you're with us. Marcus, you're on comm watch. Jim, Elena, continue with your scheduled work." "Want me to grab the toolkit?" Yuki asked. "Yeah, if it's the sensors, might as well fix them while we're there." They finished the meal quickly, the easy conversation gone, replaced by the particular tension that came with any anomaly on a station where anomalies could kill you if you didn't take them seriously. Section C was the storage module. Supplies, equipment, backup systems. Not somewhere anyone needed to be during a normal shift unless they were retrieving something specific. The 3 of them floated through the connecting tunnel, Chen in the lead, Yuki behind her, Daniel bringing up the rear. "Motion sensors are still showing activity," Yuki reported, checking her tablet. "Whatever it is, it's near the far end of the module." They reached the hatch. Chen spun the lock wheel and pulled it open. The module beyond was dark lights on motion sensor mode to save power. The lights clicked on as they entered. Storage racks lined the walls, packed with supplies and labeled containers. Everything secured, everything in its place. The air smelled like metal and plastic, and the particular staleness of a space that wasn't used often. Chen pulled herself along the central rail, scanning the racks. I don't see anything out of place. Yuki, where's the sensor reading the movement? Section C4, near the environmental backup systems. They moved toward the far end. Daniel's skin was crawling. That same feeling from the Badlands, from the mesa, a sense of wrongness. Something here wasn't right. Hold on, Chen said, stopping. Is that? One of the storage containers was open. That shouldn't happen. Everything was sealed, locked down. You couldn't have containers floating open in 0G. Protocol was rigid about it. Chen pulled herself closer, reached for the container. Commander, wait, Yuki started. Chen opened it fully. Inside, supplies shifted, food packets, water pouches, standard emergency rations. But scratched into the inside of the lid, fresh the metal raw and bright where something sharp had carved through the coating were symbols. Daniel recognized them immediately. Navajo symbols, protection symbols, or, no, not protection. Binding. Containment. What the hell is this? Chen said, running her finger along the scratches. Who did this? Yuki was checking her tablet, frowning. Container was sealed 2 days ago during inventory. No one's accessed this section since then, according to the logs. Then how? The lights went out. Complete darkness. The kind of dark you only got in space, where there was no ambient light, no moon, no street lamps, just the absolute nothing of the void outside the hull. Emergency lighting should have kicked on. It didn't. Yuki, Chen's voice was steady but tight. What just happened? I don't know. Power's still showing nominal on my tablet. Light should be working. Daniel's hand found the turquoise pendant in his pocket, held it, his grandmother's voice in his memory. Some things don't need light to see you. A sound cut through the darkness. Scratching. Metal on metal. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from the far end of the module. Everyone stay calm, Chen said. Yuki, can you override the lights? Working on it. The scratching stopped. In the silence, Daniel could hear his own breathing, Chen's, Yuki's, the ever-present hum of the station systems, and something else. Something that sounded like breathing, but wrong, too wet, too slow. Commander, Daniel said quietly, we need to leave, right now. We're not running from a power glitch, Daniel. It's not a power glitch. Then what? The light slammed back on. All three of them blinked against the sudden brightness. The module was exactly as it had been. Storage racks, supplies, everything in place. Except at the far end, near where the scratching had come from, one of the environmental suits was hanging from its rack. Which was normal. They stored the suits there. Except this suit was oriented wrong, facing them instead of facing the wall. And in the helmet's faceplate, Daniel could see the reflection of the three of them, floating near the entrance. But in the reflection, there were 4 people. The 4th figure stood behind them, tall, wrong proportions, its head tilted at an angle that necks didn't bend. Yuki saw it too, her breath caught. Commander! I see it, Chen said. They turned slowly. Nothing was there. Just empty air. But in the helmet's reflection, the 4th figure was still visible, still standing there, still watching. Its head tilted the other direction. We're leaving, Chen said. Now, move. They pulled themselves back toward the hatch, moving as fast as 0G allowed. Yuki went first, then Chen, Then Daniel. Daniel was at the hatch when he looked back. The storage module was empty. The suit's helmet showed only their reflections now, no fourth figure. But scratched into the wall near the environmental backup systems, fresh and raw, were more symbols. The same symbols his grandmother had drawn in the dirt once, to show him what the old warnings looked like, what the dangerous markings were. The ones that meant something is here that shouldn't be, something is awake that should be sleeping, something is hunting. Daniel pulled himself through the hatch and spun the lock wheel behind him. What the fuck was that? Yuki's voice was shaking. Chen was already on the comm. Marcus, we're coming back to command. Get Jim and Elena there now. Everyone, immediately. Commander, is everything... Now, Marcus. They moved through the tunnel fast. No one spoke. What was there to say? Daniel's hands were trembling. His grandmother's last words kept repeating in his head. Take it far from here. As far as you can go. Keep our people safe. And another memory, from when he was 12, sitting in her kitchen, listening to stories. How do you know when a skinwalker is near, grandmother? You feel it first. Before you see anything, a wrongness. Then you might see things that don't add up, reflections that don't match, shadows in the wrong place. By the time you see the skinwalker itself, grandson, you're already being hunted. They reached the command hub. The others were already there, looking confused and concerned. Sarah, what's going on? Elena asked. Chen didn't answer immediately. She pulled up the internal camera feeds from Section C. They all watched the playback. 3 people entering the module, moving toward the far end, lights going out, then coming back on, the 3 of them leaving quickly. Nothing else. No fourth figure. No reflection that didn't match. Just 3 crew members acting spooked by a power fluctuation. I don't understand, Marcus said. What did you see? Chen was staring at the screen. Yuki, you saw it too, right? In the helmet reflection? I saw something, Yuki said. She sounded uncertain, like she was already second-guessing herself. Maybe it was. Interference? A glitch in the helmet's coding? That's not how reflections work, Chen said. Then what was it? Everyone turned to look at her. Chen's jaw was tight. I don't know, but something was in that module with us. Commander, Jim said carefully, in the voice he used when he was worried about someone's psychological state. Isolation can cause... I know what isolation can cause, Jim. I've been on 4 long-duration missions. This wasn't that. Jim looked at Daniel. Danny? You were there. What did you see? Daniel's throat was dry. This was the moment. He could tell them. Explain what he suspected, what he'd brought aboard. Or he could stay quiet. Hope he was wrong. Hope the wrongness was just stress and isolation and his own superstitious upbringing making him paranoid. I saw something in the reflection, he said quietly. Something that shouldn't have been there. Okay, Elena said slowly. Let's all take a breath. We're scientists. We deal in observable phenomena. What are the facts? Facts, Chen said. Motion sensors registered movement in Section C when no one was there. Power fluctuation with no identifiable cause. A storage container that was open when it should have been sealed. Scratches on the container and wall that weren't there 2 days ago during inventory. And 3 crew members all saw something in a helmet reflection that the cameras didn't record. Could be equipment malfunction, Marcus offered. Systems degradation. We're 4 months in. Things break. All of those things at once? Yuki shook her head. The statistical probability. Then what's the alternative? Jim asked. What, we've got a stowaway? A ghost? Silence. Daniel's hand found the pendant again. The turquoise felt warm, almost hot. There's something I need to tell you, he said. Everyone looked at him. Daniel? Chen's voice had a warning in it. He pulled the pendant out, held it up. My grandmother gave me this before she died. Traditional Navajo protection against things. Dangerous things. Things, Jim repeated. What kind of things? Daniel took a breath. She was sick. Hospice. Her last lucid moment. She grabbed my hand and told me there was something hidden in her old hogan, something that needed to be taken far away. She made me promise. Okay, Jen said slowly. And I found it after her funeral, a leather pouch, soil from 4 corners, and a carved bone artifact buried inside. I recognized the symbols on it. Containment magic, old style. The kind used for dangerous things. The temperature in the hub seemed to drop. You brought this aboard? Jen's voice was very quiet. She told me to take it as far away as possible, to keep our people safe, I thought. His voice cracked. I thought she meant bring it to space, remove it from Earth. I thought distance would matter. Daniel, Jim said, what was it containing? In Navajo tradition, there are things called Naaldlooshii, witches who broke sacred laws. They can take different forms, wear different skins, animal or human. They're skinwalkers, Elena said. I've read about the folklore. It's not folklore, Daniel said, and I think the samples we got from New Mexico 2 days ago were from the same site where this artifact came from, same coordinates, grave depth, I think. He couldn't finish the sentence. Jim finished it for him. You think you brought something aboard that shouldn't be here, and you think the samples we received activated it somehow, completed something. Daniel nodded. That's insane, Marcus said. That's supernatural. That's not real. Then explain what we saw, Yuki said quietly. No one had an answer. Jen's face was hard. How long have you known about this? I suspected when I saw where the samples were from. I've been feeling something wrong for a couple days. Didn't want to say anything. Thought I was being paranoid. Being paranoid? Jen's voice rose. You brought unauthorized materials aboard a space station and didn't report it? Do you have any idea how many protocols you violated? I know, I'm sorry. She was dying. It was her last request. I thought, you thought wrong. Chen turned away, then back. Okay. We deal with this. Ground control needs to know. And tell them what? Jim asked. That we think a Navajo witch monster is loose on the station? They'll think we've lost it. They don't need to believe us. They just need to authorize emergency extraction. Chen moved to the communications console, started composing the message. The 8-minute light speed delay meant it would be at least 16 minutes before they got a response. 16 minutes where they'd be on their own. Daniel drifted to the window. Earth slid past, blue and white and beautiful. Home, where the ground was solid and the air was real and things like this happened in stories, not in reality. Except they did happen in reality. His grandmother had spent her whole life knowing they did, and he'd brought one of those things here, to a sealed metal box spinning through the void, where there was nowhere to run. It's my fault, he said quietly. If people die, it's on me. Jim floated over, put a hand on his shoulder. Hey, we don't know what's happening yet. Could still be equipment malfunction. Stress. Our brains pattern matching where there's no pattern. You don't believe that? No, Jim admitted. I really don't. I saw that thing in the reflection, Danny, or something. And I've never been superstitious, but... He squeezed Daniel's shoulder. We're gonna figure this out. Together. Like always. Chen finished the message. Hit send. All right. Until we hear back from ground control, we stick together. Buddy system. No one goes anywhere alone. We seal off Section C. No one goes back there. Everyone understood? Understood, they chorused. Good. Now we wait. The next 16 minutes felt like hours. They floated in the command hub, no one quite looking at each other, everyone hyper-aware of every sound, every shadow, every flicker of light. Daniel stared at the comm console, waiting for ground control's response. When it finally came, the message appeared on screen. Chen read it aloud. "Station, your message received. Biometric data shows all crew members alive and vital signs nominal. Request clarification on nature of emergency. Unable to authorize extraction without confirmed threat. Recommend comprehensive psychological evaluation of crew. Awaiting detailed report. Ground control out." "They don't believe us," Marcus said. "Would you?" Elena asked. "From their perspective, we're reporting supernatural entities based on... what? A reflection? Scratches on a wall? We sound like we're having a group psychotic break." "Then we give them evidence," Chen said. "We document everything. Cameras, sensor logs, whatever's happening, we record it and prove." The lights went out. Again. "God damn it," Chen muttered. "Yuki, what's—" "It's not the power systems," Yuki said, her tablet glowing in the darkness, the only light source. "Power is nominal. This is the lights themselves. Something's overriding the controls." The emergency lighting kicked on, dim red, enough to see by, but barely. "Everyone stay together," Chen ordered. Daniel heard it before the others did. A sound from the tunnel connecting to the crew quarters. Tapping. Rhythmic. Deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. Like fingernails on metal. Getting closer. "Something's coming," he whispered. They all heard it now. The tapping stopped. A figure appeared in the tunnel entrance. It was Jim. Or, it looked like Jim. Same flight suit, same glasses, same slightly messy hair, same build. But Jim was right there, floating next to Daniel. The thing wearing Jim's face tilted its head, smiled. "Hey guys," it said in Jim's voice. "What's wrong? You all look like you've seen a ghost." Real Jim's face went white. "That's not me," he said. "That's not me." The thing's smile widened, too wide. Human jaws didn't open that far. "Sure it is," it said. "I'm Jim Kowalski, medical officer. Your best friend, Danny. Remember? Remember all our talks? All your secrets?" "Everybody move," Chen said. "Get to the lab module. Now." They scattered, pulling themselves toward the opposite tunnel, the one leading to the lab. The Jim thing laughed, multiple voices layered over each other, Jim's voice and something else underneath, something older and hungrier and wrong. Daniel was last through the hatch. He spun the wheel, sealed it. Through the small window, he could see the thing approaching. It wasn't floating anymore. It was crawling along the walls like gravity didn't matter, like the laws of physics were suggestions it had decided to ignore. Its fingers, Jim's fingers, were too long, the joints bent backward. It reached the window, pressed its face against the glass. "You can't hide, Daniel," it said. "I know this station better than you do now. I know every seal, every lock, every way in." "How?" Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. "How is it—" "Because Jim's dead," Elena said flatly. She was staring at the thing through the window with scientific detachment. "He's been dead, and that thing is wearing him." "I'm not dead," Jim said. "I'm right here. I'm—" The thing in the window smiled again. Then its head rotated, all the way around, bones cracking and reforming. When its face came back into view, it wasn't Jim's face anymore. It was Daniel's. "This is your fault, Daniel," it said in his own voice. "You brought me here. You freed me. And now everyone's going to die because he wanted to honor your grandmother's last wish." The thing laughed his own laugh and pushed away from the window, disappearing into the command hub. "Oh God," Marcus breathed. "Oh God. Oh God." "Everyone shut up," Chen hissed. "We need a plan. Now." Daniel couldn't stop staring at the window where his own face had been grinning at him. Jim grabbed his arm. Danny, look at me. That thing is right. We need to know everything. Everything your grandmother told you about these things. How do we fight it? How do we kill it?" Daniel forced himself to focus, to remember the stories, the warnings. "Fire," he said. "Traditional way is fire. Burn the skin it's wearing. Burn it completely." "Can't make fire on a space station," Yuki said. "The oxygen levels." I know. Daniel's mind raced. There are other ways. Sacred items can weaken them. Turquoise, corn pollen, white shell. Things that represent protection and blessing. "Do you have any of that?" Chen asked. He held up the pendant. "Just this." "One necklace against that thing?" Marcus laughed, high and strained. "We're dead. We're all dead." "We're not dead yet," Elena said. She pulled up the station's schematic on her tablet. "We have options. The thing can be killed with fire. We can't make traditional fire. But we have other heat sources. The engines, the reactor cooling systems, emergency fuel reserves. If we can trap it, we can incinerate it." "How do we trap something that can become any of us?" Jim asked. "We stay together. We watch each other. If someone acts wrong, sounds wrong, moves wrong, we know." "It had my voice perfect," Jim said. Not perfect," Yuki interrupted. "It called Marcus guys. You never say that. You use full names. It mimicked you, but it didn't understand you." Jim blinked. "You're right. I always use full names. It's a thing." "So we test each other," Chen said. "Constantly. Shared memories, personal details, things only the real person would know." "And when we find the imposter?" Marcus asked. "We run," Daniel said. "Lure it where we want it, then we burn it." "Okay," Chen said. "Okay, we can do this. We stay together. We watch each other. We find this thing and we kill it." The lights flickered. Came back on, normal lighting this time. Like nothing had happened. "Is it gone?" Marcus whispered. "No," Daniel said. "It's hunting." They huddled in the lab module. 6 people in a space meant for 1 or 2. Everyone watching everyone else, jumping at every sound. 2 hours had passed since they'd seen the thing. 2 hours of silence and waiting and the slow, creeping dread that came with knowing something was out there. Something that could be anyone. Something that was learning how to be them better than they were themselves. Ground control had sent 3 more messages, each one more insistent than the last. "Station, please respond with detailed status update." "Station, biometric readings show elevated stress levels. Require immediate medical evaluation protocols." "Station, you are ordered to respond. Failure to comply will result in emergency intervention." Chen had responded to the first one, tried to explain, used words like threat and contamination and emergency extraction required. The response had been exactly what they'd expected. "Station, all biometric readings nominal, all systems functioning within normal parameters, no external or internal threats detected. Psychological evaluation required before any extraction authorization can be considered. Please administer evaluation protocols immediately. Ground control out." "They think we're crazy," Marcus said. He'd said it 6 times already, like repetition would change the reality. "They're looking at data that shows everything's fine," Jim said. "From their perspective, we are having a group breakdown." "We need to give them evidence they can't dismiss," Elena said. She'd been recording everything on her tablet. The scratches, the sensor logs, the reflection that shouldn't have existed when the relief crew arrives. If we're alive when the relief crew arrives, Marcus interrupted. When, Elena insisted, we document everything. We show them proof. Proof of what? Yuki asked quietly. That something supernatural is hunting us? How do we prove that to people who need peer-reviewed papers and double-blind studies? Silence. Because she was right. What they were facing didn't fit into the framework of observable, repeatable, scientific phenomena. It was the thing that lived in the spaces between the data points. The anomaly that couldn't be explained by equipment malfunction or human error or stress-induced hallucination. It was real in a way that science couldn't measure. Daniel knew that, had always known it, even when he'd spent years getting degrees and learning to think like a scientist. His grandmother had made sure he understood that some truths existed outside the methodology he'd learned in school. He just wished he'd listened better when she'd tried to teach him how to fight those truths. What do we do now? Marcus asked. We wait, Chen said. We watch. We stay together. For how long? Marcus's voice rose. Until the relief crew gets here in 8 weeks? We're supposed to just... what? Hide? We're not hiding. We're regrouping. Planning. Planning what? We don't know what this thing can do. We don't know how to kill it. We don't... Shut up, Marcus, Jim said, not unkindly. You're spiraling. Breathe. Marcus breathed, then asked, more quietly, What do we do, Commander? Chen looked at Daniel. You're the expert here. What do the stories say about how they hunt? What's their pattern? Daniel tried to remember. The stories had always seemed distant, cautionary tales told by firelight, not operational intel for actual survival. They learn, he said slowly. They watch. They figure out how people interact. Then they mimic it. They're patient. They'll wait for the right moment. When you're separated, when you're vulnerable, that's when they strike. So we don't separate, Chen said. And they're strong, fast, can't be killed by normal weapons. Bullets don't work. Knives don't work. Traditional methods are specific fire, sacred items, sometimes decapitation if the body is burned afterward. We have emergency cutting tools, Yuki said, for hull repairs, industrial plasma cutters. Would those count as fire? Jim asked. Plasma burns at 30,000 degrees, Yuki said. If anything counts, that would. Where are they stored? Chen asked. Section C, engineering supplies. The module they'd sealed off, where they'd first encountered the thing. Shit, Jim muttered. There are backup tools in the observation deck, Yuki said. Smaller units, for maintenance on the telescope housing. Not as powerful, but they'd work. Okay, Chen said. New plan. We go to observation deck. We get the tools. We arm ourselves. Then we hunt this thing down and we end it. 6 of us, Elena said. 1 of it. I like those odds better than hiding and hoping. Everyone agreed. Chen looked at each of them in turn. They nodded, even Marcus, though his face was pale and his hand shook. All right, buddy system. Groups of 2. I'm with Yuki, Elena with Jim, Daniel with Marcus. We move together, but pairs stay within sight of each other. Anyone sees anything wrong, you shout immediately. Understood? Understood. They left the lab module, moving through the tunnel toward the observation deck. The normal lighting had returned. Everything looked exactly as it should. Clean, functional, safe. But Daniel couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The observation deck was his favorite part of the station. Big windows looking out at Earth and stars in the infinite black. Telescope array for scientific observations. Usually peaceful, usually beautiful. Now it felt exposed. Too many windows. Too many places for something to hide in the darkness beyond the glass. Chen and Yuki moved to the maintenance locker. Started pulling out the plasma cutting tools. Small units, handheld, designed for precision work on external panels. Marcus stayed close to Daniel, his breathing too fast. "Hey," Daniel said quietly. "You okay?" "Am I okay? No, I'm not okay. There's a monster on the station that can look like any of us, and we're trying to kill it with tools meant for fixing solar panels. I'm the opposite of okay." "That's fair. Why did you bring it here?" Marcus's voice wasn't accusatory, just lost. "Why?" "My grandmother asked me to. I thought I was helping. I thought distance would make it safe. But it didn't. No, it didn't." Marcus looked at him, really looked at him. "When this is over, if we survive, I don't know if I can forgive you for this, Danny. I'm sorry, but I don't think I can." "I know," Daniel said. "I can't forgive myself either." Elena and Jim were by the windows, watching the earth pass below. Daniel could hear them talking quietly. "Never believed in any of this," Jim was saying. "Ghosts, demons, supernatural anything. I'm a scientist. I believe in what I can observe and measure." "And now?" Elena asked. "Now I don't know what I believe, but I know what I saw, and I know that thing had my face, Elena. It had my voice. It knew things only I should know. The folklore says they take everything from the person they're mimicking. Memories, personality, everything. Then how do we tell the difference? How do we know which one is real if it's perfect? It's not perfect. Can't be. It's mimicking humanity, not actually feeling it. There will be gaps, small things. We watch for those." Daniel turned back to Marcus, about to say something he wasn't sure what, when he saw Marcus's expression change. Marcus was staring at something behind Daniel. Daniel turned. Jim was still by the window, talking with Elena. But Jim was also in the doorway, standing there, watching them. Marcus said. "Guys?" Everyone turned. 2 Jims. One by the window, one in the doorway. Both looked exactly the same. Both wore the same expression of confusion. Both spoke at the same time. What the hell? Then both Jims looked at each other. Window Jim's face went white. "That's not me." Doorway Jim backed away. "That's not me. That's..." Which one is real? Chen had the plasma cutter in her hand, but she didn't know where to aim it. Both Jims turned to face the group. "It's me," Window Jim said. "I was just talking to Elena about folklore and mimicry and..." "It's me," Doorway Jim said. "I was checking the tunnel, making sure nothing was coming and..." "Ask them something," Daniel said. "Something only Jim would know." "What's my favorite food?" Chen asked. "Pizza," both Jims said simultaneously. "Pepperoni and mushroom. You mentioned it on day 15 because I asked everyone what they missed most about Earth." "Fuck," Yuki breathed. "It knows." "Ask something else," Elena said. "Something more personal." "What did I tell you last night?" Window Jim asked. "What did I tell you when we were doing equipment maintenance?" Window Jim answered. "You said you were worried about Danny, that he seemed off, that you'd known him long enough to tell when something was wrong." Doorway Jim said nothing. "That's him," Elena said, pointing at Window Jim. "The real one. I remember that conversation." Doorway Jim's face changed. The expression shifted, became something else. It smiled. "Smart," it said, "but you're still going to die." It lunged, not floating, not following zero-G physics. It launched itself across the module like gravity existed and it had decided which direction was down. Chen fired the plasma cutter. The bright arc of superheated plasma caught Doorway Jim's shoulder. The flight suit burned. Flesh underneath bubbled and blackened. The thing screamed. A sound that was Jim's voice and something else underneath. Something that had been screaming for a very long time. It hit the wall, ricocheted, came at them from a different angle. "Get out," Chen yelled. "Everyone out!" They scattered. moving through the tunnel as fast as 0G allowed, pulling themselves along handrails, kicking off surfaces. Daniel looked back once. The thing was right behind them, crawling along the ceiling like a spider, its burned shoulder already healing, flesh knitting back together in ways that shouldn't be possible. Its face was changing as it moved, Jim's features melting away, showing something underneath. Something that looked almost human but wasn't, skin too tight, too many teeth, eyes that reflected light like an animal's. Then it was Jim again, perfectly, like the transformation had never happened. Little pig, it called in Jim's cheerful voice. Let me in. They made it to the hub. Chen spun the hatch wheel, sealed it. Through the window, they watched the thing approach. It didn't try to break through. It just stood there, watching, wearing Jim's face but standing wrong, arms too long, joints bending in directions they shouldn't. Why isn't it trying to get through? Marcus whispered. Because it doesn't have to, Elena said. It's already shown us it can be anyone. We can't trust each other anymore. The thing smiled. Then it walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the tunnel. Everybody check in, Chen ordered. I'm real. I'm Sarah Chen. I grew up in Sacramento. My mother's name was Lynn. I joined the Air Force when I was 22. We don't have time for full biographies, Yuki interrupted. Quick check. Name, service number, something personal only you know. They went around. Chen, Yuki, Elena, Daniel, Marcus. Real Jim was shaking. How did it know those things? How did it know what I talked to Elena about? It's been watching, Daniel said. Listening, learning. That's what they do. They study their prey. But we just had that conversation last night. It couldn't have. It's been here longer than we thought, Elena said slowly. The scratches on the container. The motion sensors 2 days ago. It's been awake and active since the samples arrived. It's been watching us for 2 days. Learning our routines, Yuki added. Our relationships, how we talk, how we interact. Which means it knows us, Marcus said. It knows everything about us, and we don't know anything about it except that it wants us dead. Not dead, Daniel corrected. It wants to wear us, our skins, our lives. That's what skinwalkers do. They don't just kill, they take. Everything you are, everything you were, becomes theirs. How comforting, Jim muttered. Chen pulled up the station schematic. Okay, new plan. We can't go on the offensive if we can't trust each other. So we fall back. There's a secure section, the emergency shelter. It was designed for solar events, high radiation scenarios. Reinforced, single entry point. We seal ourselves in there. We can wait out the 8 weeks until extraction. 8 weeks in a room barely big enough for 6 people? Marcus said. We'll go insane. Better insane than dead, Chen said. There's a problem, Yuki said, studying the schematic. The emergency shelter is in Section D. To get there, we have to pass through Section C, the module they'd sealed off, where the thing had first appeared, where the industrial plasma cutters were stored. Can we go around? Jim asked. Yuki shook her head. Station design. It's the only route. Then we go through, Chen said. Fast. Together. We don't stop. We don't investigate anything. We just move. And if it's waiting for us? Marcus asked. Then we fight. Chen distributed the handheld plasma cutters, one for each of them, small, not powerful enough to cut through hull plating, but hot enough to burn flesh, hot enough to hurt the thing. Maybe hot enough to kill it, if they could keep it still long enough. Stay close, Chen said. Pairs. Watch your partner. If anything seems wrong, shout immediately. Understood? They understood. The journey through the hub to Section C's entrance took less than a minute. It felt like hours. Every shadow seemed wrong. Every sound was magnified. Every flicker of light made them flinch. They reached the sealed hatch to Section C. Jen put her hand on the lock wheel. "Ready?" No one was ready. She spun the wheel anyway. The hatch opened. Beyond, Section C was dark again. The motion sensor lights weren't activating. "Stay together," Chen whispered. They pulled themselves through. 6 people in a line, hands on each other's shoulders, moving through the darkness like a strange human chain. Daniel was third in line, Marcus in front of him, Yuki behind. He could hear their breathing, could feel Marcus trembling. The storage racks loomed on either side, containers packed with supplies, equipment secured to the walls, everything exactly where it should be, except the environmental suits. All of them were facing the wrong way now, hanging from their racks, but oriented toward the center of the module instead of toward the wall. 6 suits, 6 faceplates, reflecting the crew's lights back at them. In the reflections, Daniel counted the crew. Chen in front, Marcus second, Daniel third, Yuki fourth, Elena fifth, Jim last. 6 people. But in the reflections, there were 7. The 7th figure stood at the back of the line, behind Jim. "Don't turn around," Daniel said quietly. "Don't look back. Just move. Faster." What Marcus started. Move. They moved, pulling themselves along faster, heading for the far hatch, the one that led to Section D and the emergency shelter beyond. Behind them, Daniel heard a sound. Humming. Someone was humming, a tune he recognized, Country Roads. Jim's favorite song. But Jim was in front of him. He could see Jim's back, see him pulling himself along the handrail. The humming came from behind. "It's behind us," Yuki whispered. "Oh God, it's right behind us." "Don't look," Elena said. "Don't engage. Just move." They were halfway across the module when the lights came on. Full bright, sudden, blinding. They all looked back by instinct. The 7th figure was gone. But standing in the middle of the module, surrounded by the watching suits, was Jim. Another Jim. This one's face was wrong, melted looking, like a wax sculpture left too close to heat. Jim's features were there but sliding off, revealing something underneath. "You can't run," it said in Jim's voice, coming from a mouth that was reshaping itself as it spoke. "This station is mine now. You're mine." Chen raised the plasma cutter. "Fuck you." She fired. The arc hit the thing's center mass. The flight suit ignited. Flesh burned. The thing shrieked multiple voices, layered, Jim's and others, and something ancient and furious underneath. It lunged at them. Jen fired again. The plasma caught its face, burned away the Jim mask completely, showing what was underneath. Daniel got one clear look at it before his mind tried to reject what he was seeing. Not human, not animal, something in between. Skin that looked like leather stretched too thin over a frame that was all wrong. Too many joints, too many bones visible beneath the surface. A skull that was elongated, almost canine but not quite. Eyes that were too large and completely black and filled with an intelligence that was older than the reservation, older than the country, older than anything that should still exist in the modern world. It had been a person once, maybe, before it broke the sacred laws, before it chose to become this. Now it was just hunger wearing stolen faces. "Go!" Chen yelled, still firing. "Get to the shelter!" They didn't need to be told twice. The crew pulled themselves toward the far hatch, hands flying over handrails, bodies moving as fast as zero-G physics allowed. Daniel was last through. He spun the lock wheel, sealed the hatch. Through the window, he saw the thing advancing on Chen. "Commander!" he shouted. Chen was backing away, the plasma cutter in her hand, firing continuously. The thing kept coming, kept healing, kept advancing. Then Chen's cutter sputtered. The plasma arc died. Out of fuel. "Chen, move," Elena screamed. Chen threw the empty cutter at the thing useless and pulled herself toward the hatch. She was 3 meters away when the thing caught her ankle. Pulled her back. "No!" Jim lunged for the hatch. "Sarah!" Daniel grabbed him, held him. "You can't help her!" Through the window, they watched. The thing pulled Chen back into the center of the module. She fought, kicked, reached for anything she could use as a weapon. The thing's face was reforming, becoming Chen's face, watching itself be born in her features while she struggled. "Please," Chen said. "Please, don't." The thing smiled with her face. Then its hand elongated, joints all wrong reached into her chest. Not tearing through, not ripping, just reaching. Like her body wasn't solid, like flesh and bone were just suggestions. Chen's scream cut through the hull, through the sealed hatch, a sound that Daniel would hear in his nightmares for the rest of his life, however long that was. The thing pulled something out. Not her heart, not organs, something else. Something that looked like light and shadow combined. The part of her that made her Chen, herself, her soul, if such things were real. The thing consumed it. Chen's body went limp. Still alive, her chest still moved, but empty. Whatever made her Sarah Chen, commander and soldier in person, was gone. The thing let go. Chen's body drifted in the module, moving slightly with the station's rotation, eyes open but seeing nothing. The thing wearing her face looked at the hatch, at them watching through the window. It smiled. "One down," it said with Chen's voice and Chen's face and Chen's mannerisms. Perfect now because it had taken everything she was. "5 to go." Then it turned and crawled into the shadows, taking Chen's identity with it, leaving her empty body floating alone in the dark. They sealed themselves in the emergency shelter. It was a small space, designed for short-term survival during solar events or catastrophic pressure loss, not meant for long-term habitation, not meant for 5 traumatized people trying to process what they just witnessed. The walls were reinforced. The hatch was heavy, single entry point. A prison as much as a shelter. Jim was on the floor, or what passed for floor in microgravity, his face in his hands, not crying, just gone, somewhere else, somewhere that wasn't here with the memory of Chen's scream. Marcus had curled into a ball in the corner, arms wrapped around his knees, rocking slightly, humming something under his breath, a prayer, maybe, or just noise to fill the silence. Yuki was checking the shelter's systems, life support, communications, emergency supplies, moving through the checklist with mechanical precision because the alternative was thinking about what they'd seen. Elena floated near the hatch, watching the small window, making sure nothing was coming. Daniel was with Jim. "Hey," he said quietly. "Jim, talk to me, man." Jim didn't respond. "Jim, I know what you saw, what we all saw, but we need you here. We need you present." "She's gone," Jim said, his voice flat, empty. "Sarah's gone. That thing ate her, Danny. It ate her fucking soul." "I know." "Do you? Do you really know what that means? She's not dead. She's worse than dead. She's empty. That thing took everything that made her Sarah, and it consumed it, and now it's wearing her, walking around with her face, her voice, her memories, everything. Jim, this is your fault." Jim looked up. His eyes were red. "You brought this thing here. You knew what it was. You knew it was dangerous, and you brought it anyway." "I know." "That's it, I know. Sarah's dead because of you. Worse than dead. And you're just standing here like it's—" "What do you want me to say?" Daniel's voice cracked. That I'm sorry? I am. That I'd take it back if I could? I would. That I wish it was me instead? It should be. My grandmother asked me to take it away, and I thought I was doing the right thing. I thought distance mattered. I thought, you thought wrong, and now we're all going to die because of it. Maybe, probably, but right now, I'm the only one here who knows anything about this thing, who knows the folklore, the traditions, the ways to fight it. So you can hate me, and you should, but you need me. We all need each other if we're going to survive the next 8 weeks. Jim stared at him for a long moment, then looked away. Tell me how to kill it. Fire, complete cremation, burn the skin it's wearing until there's nothing left. We tried that. Chen burned it with the plasma cutter. It healed. Not enough. Needs to be complete. Total. Nothing left but ash. And how do we do that on a space station? I don't know yet, but we figure it out. Together. Jim closed his eyes, breathed. When he opened them again, some of the emptiness was gone, replaced with something harder, angrier. Okay, he said. Okay, what do we do? We survive. We wait. 8 weeks until the relief crew arrives. We stay in here. It can't get through that hatch. Can't it? It broke physics already. Moved through 0G like gravity existed. Put its hand inside Sarah's chest without tearing anything. Who's to say it can't walk through walls? The old stories, they have limits. They can wear skins, mimic voices, move fast. But they're still physical. They need access. Doors, hatches, entry points. You sure about that? No, I'm not sure about anything, but it's what we've got. Yuki drifted over. Life support is good for 3 months. Water recycling functional. Food supply sufficient. Communications with ground control operational. We can wait it out here. 3 months, Marcus said from his corner. 3 months, in a room the size of a closet, with that thing out there, waiting. Better than the alternative, Elena said. Is it? We're trapped. It's out there, learning, adapting. What if it figures out how to open the hatch? What if it just waits until we have to come out for supplies? What if... Marcus? Elena's voice was sharp. Stop. We survive by staying calm and thinking clearly. Panic helps nothing. Panic? You think this is panic? This is rational fear. That thing just killed our commander and ate her soul, and falling apart won't bring her back. Marcus laughed. High. Strained. Bring her back? She's not dead, remember? She's still out there, walking around, wearing Sarah's face, knowing everything Sarah knew. About us, about the station, about... He stopped. His face went pale. What? Jim asked. It knows everything Sarah knew, including all the security protocols, all the access codes, every override in the station. Silence. Then Yuki said quietly, Shit. The emergency shelter, Marcus continued. Sarah helped design the security protocols. She knows the override codes. Which means the Skinwalker knows them now, Daniel finished. They all looked at the hatch. Heavy, reinforced, sealed from the inside. But if the thing knew the override codes... Can we change them? Jim asked. Yuki was already at the console, working on it. But the system, the override codes are hardwired. Chen's authorization was the highest level. If it uses her credentials... How long until you can lock it out? I don't know. The system wasn't designed to deny commander-level access. That defeats the purpose of having a commander. Then we watch the hatch, Elena said. Shifts. 2 people on watch at all times. If it tries to get in, we fight. With what? Marcus asked. Our plasma cutters are almost empty. We used most of the fuel in Section C. Then we improvise. Tools, equipment, whatever we have. Daniel drifted to the supply lockers, started taking inventory, emergency medical kit, repair tools, spare components, nothing that looked like a weapon. But that's what the station was, a sealed environment designed for efficiency, not combat. No guns, no knives, no weapons beyond what you could improvise from maintenance equipment. He found something, a canister labeled emergency oxygen, high pressure. "We have portable oxygen," he said. "Medical grade, high pressure." "So?" Marcus asked. "So, oxygen is flammable. We rig something, a torch, an explosive, something that burns hot enough to... To what? Blow a hole in the hull? Kill ourselves along with it? To hurt it, slow it down, give us a chance." Elena took the canister, examined it. "It's possible. Crude, but possible. We'd need an ignition source, fuel, a delivery system." "I can work on that," Yuki said. "Give me a few hours. I can build something that won't kill us all in the process. Probably." "Probably," Jim repeated. "Great. That's comforting." "It's what we have," Yuki said. They worked in silence for the next few hours. Yuki and Elena building an improvised incendiary device, Jim going through the medical supplies, taking stock of what they had. Marcus watching the hatch, flinching at every sound. Daniel trying to remember everything his grandmother had ever told him about skinwalkers, and realizing how much he dismissed as stories, as folklore, as superstition. He wished he'd listened better. Wished he'd asked more questions. Wished he'd understood that the stories were warnings, not entertainment. Ground control sent another message. "Station, your biometric readings continue to show elevated stress. Commander Chen's last check-in mentioned concerns about crew psychological state. Request immediate comprehensive evaluation. If no response received within next communication window, emergency intervention protocols will be initiated. Ground control out." "They still don't believe us," Marcus said. "Would you?" Elena asked. "If someone told you there was a skinwalker on a space station?" "If 5 people said it, yes, I would believe something was happening. 5 people who've been isolated for 4 months, who are showing signs of severe stress, who are making claims about supernatural entities. From a medical perspective, this looks like shared psychosis." "It's not psychosis." "We know that. They don't." Daniel composed a response, tried to find words that would make ground control understand without making them sound more unstable. "Ground control, situation critical, Commander Chen deceased, entity aboard station confirmed, crew secure an emergency shelter, request immediate extraction, will provide full documentation upon return. This is not psychological. This is real. Please believe us. Please send help. Station out." He hit send. 8 minutes until the message reached Earth. 8 more until a response came back. 16 minutes of not knowing if anyone would believe them. The response, when it came, was worse than dismissal. "Station, Commander Chen's biometric readings show her alive and vital signs within normal parameters. Heart rate, respiration, body temperature all nominal, unable to confirm deceased status. Request visual confirmation and detailed explanation. Emergency extraction not authorized without confirmed threat and commander authorization. Ground control out." "They're reading her as alive," Jim said, looking at the message. "How is that possible?" "Because she is alive," Daniel said. "Her body, the thing, left it alive. Empty, but alive. So, as far as they're concerned, we're claiming the commander is dead when all their instruments say she's fine. We look even crazier now." "Then we show them," Yuki said. "She'd been working on something at the console. I pulled the camera footage from Section C. The moment it took Chen, I can send it to ground control. Video evidence." "Do it," Elena said. Yuki packaged the file, sent it with a message. "Ground control, video evidence attached. This is what we're facing. Believe us, please." They waited. 16 minutes felt like years. The response was a single line. Station, video file corrupted, unable to process. Please resend with proper formatting. Ground control out. Corrupted. Yuki checked the file. That's not possible. I sent it in standard format. It should. It's interfering, Daniel said. The Skinwalker. It's in the system somehow, blocking our communications. That's not how computers work, Yuki said. It can't just... It put its hand inside Chin's chest without tearing anything. It crawls on walls in 0G. It wears stolen faces. Why can't it interfere with computers? Because that's magic, not physics. And what the hell do you think we're dealing with? Yuki had no answer to that. They tried sending the video 3 more times. Each time, ground control reported the file as corrupted. Finally, Elena said what they were all thinking. They're not coming. No one's coming. The relief crew is 8 weeks away, and when they arrive, they'll find... What? What happens when they dock? The Skinwalker will be waiting, Daniel said, wearing Chen's face, or one of ours. It'll greet them, welcome them aboard, and then it'll take them too. Unless we stop it, Jim said. How? We're trapped in here. It's out there. It controls the station. It's blocking our communications. It knows we're in here, and all it has to do is wait. Then we don't wait. We go out there. We hunt it. With what, our improvised oxygen bomb? That's suicide. Maybe, but it's better than sitting in here for 8 weeks, slowly going insane, knowing that thing is out there wearing Sarah's face. Jim. She was my friend too, Danny. I served with her for 3 years. I knew her kids' names. I knew she was saving up to buy them a house when she retired. I knew she was terrified of the dark but never showed it because commanders aren't supposed to be scared, and that thing took all of that, consumed it, made it part of itself. Jim's voice cracked. I'm not letting that thing walk around with her. I'm not letting it win. Then we plan, Elena said. We don't just run out there. We plan. We trap it. We kill it, properly this time. The station reactor, Yuki said slowly. If we could lure it there. The containment chamber runs at 3,000 degrees for the cooling systems. That's hot enough to burn anything, even it. Lure it how? Marcus asked. Bait, Daniel said. He looked at the others. It wants us, wants our skins, our lives. So we give it a target. One of us goes out, leads it to the reactor. The rest seal it inside and activate the emergency purge, superheat the chamber, turn it into an oven. Who goes out? Jim asked. Everyone knew the answer to that. I do, Daniel said. This is my fault, my responsibility. I'll be the bait. You'll die, Marcus said. Probably, but if it works, the rest of you survive. That's worth it. No, Jim said. We all go. Together. We all lure it. Better odds that way. It can't take all of us at once. Actually, Elena said, it probably can. But James is right. We have better chances if we work together. Division of labor. Some of us bait. Some operate the containment systems. Some seal the doors. Then we vote, Yuki said. All in favor of going on the offensive? 5 hands went up. Not because they were brave. Because staying in the shelter felt like dying slowly, and at least this way, if they died, it would be fighting. When do we go? Marcus asked. Elena checked her tablet. The station's rotation puts the reactor section optimally positioned in 3 hours. Minimal G-forces. Best visibility. Best chance of moving fast if we need to. 3 hours, Jim said. We rest. We prepare. Then we kill this thing or die trying. They spent the next 3 hours in silence, each dealing with their fear in their own way. Marcus prayed quietly, words in a language Daniel didn't recognize. Maybe Latin, maybe something older. Yuki worked on the improvised incendiary, making sure it would ignite reliably, making sure it wouldn't blow them all up in the process. Elena reviewed the station schematic, memorizing routes, backup plans, emergency protocols, being thorough because that's how you survived preparation and competence and refusing to let emotion cloud judgment. Jim stared at the wall, thinking about Chen, probably, about 3 years of friendship turned into ammunition for their killer. And Daniel thought about his grandmother. Remembered the last time he'd seen her alive, in the hospice, her hand in his, her voice weak but clear. Take it far from here, as far as you can go. Keep our people safe. He thought she meant keep the reservation safe, keep Earth safe. Now he understood. She'd meant keep the thing contained, keep it from spreading, take it somewhere it couldn't hurt anyone. And he'd brought it to a space station. A sealed environment with limited targets, a place where it could consume everyone, take their forms, and when the relief crew arrived, it would have an entire crew's worth of identities to choose from. It could go back to Earth wearing human skin, walk among people, hunt in a world with 7 billion potential victims. He'd thought he was solving a problem. He'd created a catastrophe. "I'm sorry, grandmother," he whispered. No one answered. But somewhere in the station, something that used to be Commander Sarah Chen smiled with stolen lips and waited. When Elena's timer went off, no one moved immediately. They just looked at each other, 5 people who'd been strangers 4 months ago, brought together by NASA assignments and the shared dream of touching the stars. Now they were bound by something else, by survival, by the knowledge that what waited beyond the hatch was older than rockets and human ambition. "Final equipment check," Elena said. "Yuki, the device?" Yuki held up the improvised incendiary, oxygen canister, copper tubing, electronic igniter, duct tape holding it together. "It'll work. Once. We get 1 shot. After ignition, we have maybe 5 seconds before it goes off. Enough time to throw it or run. Not both. Who carries it?" "I do. I built it. I know how it works." "The reactor controls?" Elena looked at Marcus. "I can operate them. Override the safety protocols. Superheat the containment chamber. Turn it into a furnace." Marcus's hands shook, but his voice was firm. "I watched Chen do it during training." "Jim, Daniel," Elena continued, "you're on bait duty. Keep it focused on you. Lead it to the reactor. Give Marcus time to set up. Give Yuki a clear shot." "What about you?" Jim asked. "I seal the doors. Make sure it can't escape once we have it contained." "That puts you between it and the exit," Daniel said. "If something goes wrong, then I die. We all might die. That's the reality. But this is our best chance." She looked at each of them. Last opportunity to back out. No judgment. No one moved. "Okay then," Elena said. "We go together. We stay together. And we end this." She reached for the hatch lock wheel. Daniel put his hand on her arm. "Wait, one thing." He pulled out the turquoise pendant, his grandmother's protection. Traditional Navajo teaching says certain things offer protection. Turquoise, white shell, corn pollen. I only have this. He held up the pendant. Beyond lay the station, their home for 4 months, now a hunting ground. The lighting was normal. Everything looked clean, functional, safe, like the last 6 hours had been a nightmare they'd all shared. But Daniel could feel it, that wrongness, that same prickling on the back of his neck he'd felt as a child standing at the edge of Mesa Escobada. Something was watching. They moved out in formation, Elena in front, Marcus behind her, Yuki in the middle with the device, Jim and Daniel bringing up the rear. Through the hub, past the lab module where they'd huddled 6 hours ago, past the crew quarters where Daniel's personal locker still held the empty pouch, the soil scattered, the containment broken. Every shadow seemed alive. Every sound was amplified. The station hummed its usual song, but underneath it, Daniel swore he could hear something else, a rhythm that didn't match the machinery, that sounded almost like breathing. They reached the junction that led to the reactor section. Marcus pulled up the access panel, started entering codes. His fingers fumbled on the keypad. "Come on," he muttered. "Come on, come on." The panel beeped, green light. The hatch to the reactor section opened. Beyond, the corridor stretched toward the heart of the station, where the reactor core pulsed with controlled nuclear fire, where the containment systems kept temperatures at levels that would vaporize organic matter in seconds, where they were going to trap the Skinwalker and burn it out of existence, if they could. "Everyone ready?" Elena asked. They weren't, but they moved anyway. The reactor section was hot. Even through the environmental controls, you could feel the heat radiating from the core. The walls were lined with warning signs: radiation, high temperature, authorized personnel only. Marcus headed for the control station, started pulling up the override systems. Yuki positioned herself near the containment chamber access hatch, the device held carefully in both hands. Elena moved to the emergency seal controls, ready to lock down the section once the thing was inside. Jim and Daniel stood in the open area near the core observation window. Bait. "Now what?" Jim asked quietly. "Now we wait," Daniel said. "It knows we're here. It's been tracking us since we left the shelter." "How do you know?" "Because that's what they do. They're hunters. They study their prey. They wait for the perfect moment." "And when is that?" "When we're most vulnerable. When we're divided. When—" A sound cut through the air. Humming. That same tune, Country Roads. Coming from the corridor they'd just left. Jim's face went pale. "That's my song." "I know. Only Sarah knew I hummed that. I did it during equipment checks, quietly. Didn't think anyone noticed." She noticed, and now it knows. The humming got closer. A figure appeared in the corridor entrance. Commander Sarah Chen. She looked exactly as she had that morning, flight suit crisp, hair in its regulation bun, expression calm and professional, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't been killed and emptied and consumed. "There you are," she said in Chen's voice, perfect inflection, perfect cadence. "I've been looking everywhere for you. Why did you seal yourselves in the shelter? Is everything okay?" "That's not Sarah," Marcus whispered from the control station. "We know," Elena said quietly. "Everyone hold positions." Chen walked forward. Her movements were perfect, natural, zero-G physics applied properly, nothing wrong, nothing off. Except, her eyes didn't blink. Daniel noticed it first. Chen blinked regularly, an unconscious habit, every few seconds. This thing hadn't blinked once. "What's wrong?" Chen asked, tilting her head. "Why are you all looking at me like that? Jim? Daniel? Talk to me." "When's your daughter's birthday?" Daniel asked. Chen, the thing wearing Chen, smiled. "Emma's birthday is April 15th. She'll be 12. I promised her I'd bring her back a star. She's very excited." Everything about the response was right. The date, the age, the promise. Except Chen's daughter's name was Lily. Emma was her sister. "Nice try," Jim said, "but you got the wrong kid." The thing's smile widened, too wide. Human mouths didn't smile like that. "Oh," it said. "Oops." Its face rippled, shifted, became Elena for a moment, then Marcus, then Jim, then Daniel himself. Finally, it settled on something else. Something that might have been human once. Skin stretched tight over prominent bones, eyes too large, too black, mouth full of teeth that were slightly too long and slightly too sharp. Is this better? It asked in a voice that was all of theirs layered together. Is this what you want to see? The thing underneath? Yeah, Daniel said. Actually, it is. At least you're honest about what you are now. The thing laughed. Multiple voices, multiple languages, some of them predated English by centuries. Honest? I'm wearing your commander's skin. I have her memories, her knowledge, her access codes. I could open any door on this station, including that shelter you were hiding in. Then why didn't you? Elena asked. Because I wanted you to come out, wanted you to run, wanted you to fight. The thing's head tilted. It's more fun when the prey thinks it has a chance. We do have a chance, Jim said. Do you? Let's see. The thing looked around the reactor section, at Marcus by the controls, at Yuki with her device, at Elena near the seal controls, at Jim and Daniel standing in the open. Oh, it said. I see. You're going to trap me. Superheat the containment chamber. Burn me. Very clever. If you know, then leave, Marcus said. Get off the station. Float away into space. You don't have to die here. But I don't want to leave. I like it here. Do you know how long I was buried? How many years I spent in the ground, sealed by rituals I couldn't break, contained by magic that held me? The thing moved closer, not floating, walking, like it had decided which way was down. Centuries, it said, buried in that mesa, feeling the sun warm the earth above me, hearing footsteps, voices, life happening just beyond my reach, and I couldn't touch it, couldn't take it, couldn't hunt. Until the samples were collected, Daniel said. Until the samples were collected, the thing agreed. Until soil from my burial site was removed, brought here, broke the containment just enough, and then you brought the rest. The artifact, the piece I'd hidden in the ground with me, the last fragment of what I used to be. My grandmother's protection charm, Daniel said. Your grandmother's prison. She kept it safe for decades, kept me sealed, and then she died and you found it and you brought it to me. The thing smiled with Chen's stolen mouth. Thank you, Daniel. You freed me, and when I've consumed everyone on this station, I'll wear one of your faces back to Earth, walk among billions, hunt without end. Not if we burn you first, Yuki said. She triggered the device. The igniter sparked. The oxygen-rich mixture caught. White-hot flame erupted. Yuki threw it. The thing moved, fast, inhumanly fast. One moment standing still, the next across the section, the device sailing past. The explosion lit up the reactor section. Heat and pressure and fire. But the thing was already gone, moving through shadows, a blur of stolen skin and ancient hunger. Seal it, Elena yelled. She hit the controls. The emergency hatches started closing, reinforced steel sliding into place. The thing appeared behind Yuki, grabbed her. Yuki! Marcus screamed. The thing held Yuki like she weighed nothing, examined her with those two large eyes. Systems engineer, it said. Smart, resourceful. I'll enjoy wearing you. Fuck you, Yuki spat. She had a plasma cutter in her other hand, nearly empty but not quite. She jammed it against the thing's chest and fired. The arc caught, burned. The thing shrieked and dropped her. Yuki pulled herself toward Marcus. Override, now. Marcus's hands flew over the controls, entering codes, bypassing safeties. The reactor containment chamber started heating, temperature climbing, 1,000 degrees, 1,500, 2,000. The thing recovered, its burned chest already healing, flesh knitting, becoming Chen again. You can't hurt me, it said. I've survived for centuries. I'll survive this. Elena sealed the last hatch. They were locked in, the reactor section, the 5 of them and the thing. No escape for any of them. Maybe, Elena said, but we're going to try. The thing lunged at her. Jim intercepted, tackled it midair. They tumbled through 0G, hitting the wall. The thing's face rippled, became Jim's face, then something else, then back to Chen. Multiple identities fighting for dominance. It's weakening, Daniel said. The heat, the sacred item. Elena, the pendant. Elena grabbed the turquoise, held it up. The thing hissed like an animal. Old magic, it said. Old protection, but not strong enough. It lunged at Daniel. They collided, the thing's hands on Daniel's throat, squeezing, its face inches from his, shifting, unstable. I should wear you, it whispered. Take everything you are. Daniel couldn't breathe, couldn't fight. But his hand found his pocket, found the small piece of obsidian from the soil pouch, sharp, blessed by proximity to the artifact. He drove it into the thing's eye. It screamed, released him, the obsidian shard embedded in its face. Where it touched, the flesh burned, blackened, smoked. "Marcus!" Elena yelled. "Maximum heat, now!" Marcus entered the final override. The containment chamber superheated, 3,000 degrees, hot enough to melt steel, hot enough to vaporize bone. "Open the chamber," Daniel choked out. "That'll kill us, too," Marcus said. "We're dead anyway. Do it." Marcus hit the control. The containment chamber access hatch opened. Beyond, hell itself. White-hot plasma, nuclear fire contained by magnetic fields. "Everyone get to the far wall," Helena ordered. They pulled themselves away from the chamber. The thing was writhing, the obsidian in its eye, the heat from the reactor, Elena's pendant burning its stolen skin. All of it together, weakening it, breaking it down. "Get in there," Daniel said. "Go back to the ground where you belong." The thing looked at him. For a moment, its face was human, truly human. "Please," it said in a voice that might have been its original voice, "I just want to stop being hungry." Then the humanity was gone, replaced by rage and hunger. It lunged at them one last time. Jim kicked off the wall, intercepted it, wrapped his arms around it. "Jim, no," Daniel screamed. "Tell my family I loved them," Jim said. Then he kicked off toward the open chamber, carrying the thing with him. They tumbled together into the containment chamber, into the plasma, into the fire. Jim's scream lasted half a second. Then he was gone, vaporized, nothing left. The thing burned, its stolen skins peeling away, layer after layer, identity after identity, until nothing was left but the creature underneath. Ancient, withered, more bone than flesh. It burned too, screaming in languages that predated nations. Then it was ash, then it was nothing. Marcus sealed the chamber. 4 people left, floating in the reactor section, staring at the closed chamber where their friend had just sacrificed himself. "He saved us," Elena said quietly. Daniel couldn't speak. Jim was gone, Chen was gone, and it was his fault. Yuki was crying, silent tears in 0G, droplets floating away like tiny planets. Finally, Elena checked her tablet. "We need to report this. Ground control needs to know." "Will they believe us now?" Marcus asked. "They'll have to. The reactor logs will show what happened. The temperature spike, Jim's biosignals going dead. The evidence is there." She started composing the message. Daniel floated to the observation window, looked out at Earth, still spinning, still blue and beautiful, still home. Still there, because they'd stopped the thing before it could get back. His grandmother's voice in his memory, "Keep our people safe." He had, at terrible cost, but he had. "I'm sorry, Jim," he said quietly. No one answered. But somewhere in the reactor core, atoms that used to be Dr. James Kowalski continued their journey toward becoming something else. Energy, light, the stuff that stars were made of. Maybe that was enough. The response from ground control took 23 minutes. When the message finally came, it was brief. Station, emergency extraction authorized. Relief crew departing immediately. ETA, 72 hours. Maintain current position. Await rescue. Medical and psychological support teams standing by. Ground control out. 3 days. 72 hours until they could leave this place. Until they could go home. It felt like an eternity. They moved back to the emergency shelter, not because they needed to hide anymore, but because it felt safer, smaller, contained. Marcus pulled Commander Chen's empty body from Section C, gave her a proper place in cold storage. Even if what made her Sarah Chen was gone, the body deserved dignity. They found Jim's personal effects, letters to his family, photos, a stuffed animal his daughter had given him for luck. Daniel packed them carefully. The truth would be classified. NASA would never admit what really happened, but Daniel would make sure Jim's family knew their loss mattered, that his sacrifice saved Earth from something ancient and hungry. Elena documented everything, writing reports, recording statements, compiling evidence. Yuki couldn't stop checking the sensors, making sure they were really alone. Daniel gathered the empty pouch, the leather, the scattered soil, everything his grandmother had sealed away. When they got back to Earth, he'd take it home, bury it properly, with the right rituals, in the sacred places where it should have stayed. The 3 days passed slowly. They slept in shifts, talked in quiet voices about anything except what had happened. They were survivors now, bound by trauma, by the knowledge that they'd faced something from the deepest parts of human nightmare and lived. On the 3rd day, the relief ship docked. The sound of the clamps engaging was the most beautiful thing Daniel had ever heard. 3 fresh faces, clean flight suits, concerned expressions. "Commander Chen?" the relief commander asked. "Where is she?" "Dead," Elena said simply. "Cold storage, Section A." The medical officer, Dr. Kowalski. "Dead. Reactor incident. No body to recover." The relief commander's face was carefully neutral. "I see. We'll need full statements, medical evaluations." "We know," Marcus said. "We'll cooperate, but we need to leave. Now, please." "Of course. Let's get you home." They gathered their personal effects, photos, letters, Daniel's pouch. As they were leaving, Daniel looked back one last time at the station. 4 months of his life, 2 friends dead, a secret that would be classified and buried. But they knew the truth. And the truth was, sometimes the old stories are real, sometimes the warnings should be heeded. Sometimes distance doesn't matter because some evils transcend geography. The relief commander was saying something about quarantine protocols and debriefings. Daniel barely heard it. He was thinking about his grandmother, about the words he'd misunderstood until it was too late. "Take it far from here, as far as you can go." He'd taken it to space, 600 kilometers up, traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. As far as anyone had ever taken anything. And it hadn't been enough. Because far wasn't about distance. It was about sacred places, about the right ground, about understanding that some things needed to stay buried not because they were far away, but because they were held by something stronger than miles. By ritual, by tradition, by the accumulated wisdom of people who'd been surviving in hard country for thousands of years. He understood now. Too late, but he understood. The relief ship detached from the station. Through the window, Daniel watched it shrink, a metal wheel spinning in the void, empty now except for Chen's empty body and the ghost of Jim's sacrifice. The station would be decommissioned, studied, eventually scrapped, and the truth would be buried. But Daniel would remember. Daniel stood at the edge of Mesa Escabada, same place his grandmother had brought him as a child, same red dirt, same wind that never stopped. He'd spent weeks getting permission, coordinating with the tribe, getting the blessing of the medicine men. The pouch was in his hands, leather, soil, the empty vessel that had contained something that should never have been freed. "I'm sorry, grandmother," he said to the wind. What should haves didn't matter now. He dug a hole, deep, in the exact spot where his grandmother had warned him never to dig. He placed the pouch in the hole, covered it with earth, said the prayers he remembered, the ones in Navajo that his grandmother had taught him. Then he placed stones on top, turquoise, white shell, the traditional protections. A medicine man from the tribe and elder Daniel had known his whole life appeared on the ridge, watched, nodded approval. "You did what you could," the elder said. "The mistake was made. The price was paid. Now it sleeps again." "Does it?" Daniel asked. "Is it really gone?" "Gone? No. These things don't end. They sleep. They wait. They remember. But it sleeps now. The fire cleansed it. The earth holds it. It will sleep for a long time, but not forever. Nothing is forever, grandson. You know that now." The elder turned to leave, stopped, looked back. "Your grandmother knew you'd make this mistake. She saw it coming. That's why she gave you what she did. Not to protect you, to teach you. Some lessons have to be learned the hard way. She knew I'd bring it to space. She knew you'd take it too far. She knew you'd have to learn that distance isn't safety, that you can't run from responsibility, that the old ways exist for reasons. I killed 2 people learning that lesson." "Yes, you did. That weight is yours to carry." The elder's voice wasn't unkind, just honest. "Your friends died heroes. They fought something ancient and won. Their names won't be in history books, but they'll be in the stories." The elder disappeared over the ridge. Daniel stood alone on the mesa. He'd been back for 2 months, been through the debriefings, the psychological evaluations, the carefully worded reports. NASA had offered him another assignment, ground-based, research position. He declined. Some things you couldn't move forward from, some things you had to sit with. Elena had taken a job with the ESA. She said she needed distance from NASA. Marcus had quit entirely, moved back home, taken a job teaching high school physics, said he'd had enough of the frontier. Yuki had stayed with NASA but refused any long-duration assignments, ground control only. She couldn't handle confined spaces anymore. Jim's family had received his personal effects. They'd been told he died in a reactor accident, a hero who sacrificed himself to save his crew. All of it true, none of it the whole truth. Daniel had attended the funeral, had stood in the back, had watched Jim's wife and daughters cry and known that he'd taken their husband and father from them. The guilt was a physical thing, a weight in his chest that never quite went away. He'd brought the thing aboard, he'd freed it, he'd created the situation that killed Jim and Chen. That wasn't survivor's guilt, that was responsibility. But he carried it, because that's what you did with weight. You carried it and let it change you and hoped that the change made you someone who wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Daniel walked back to his truck, started the engine, looked out at the mesa one last time. The sun was setting, painting the Badlands red and gold. Beautiful, dangerous, ancient. Home. He drove back to the reservation, past his grandmother's old house empty now, waiting for the family to decide what to do with it. He parked at his rental, a small place on his cousin's land. Inside, he made coffee, sat on the porch, watched the stars come out. Different stars than he'd seen from the station, lower, filtered through atmosphere, but more real somehow. His phone buzzed, text from Elena. "How are you?" He typed back, "Getting there. You?" "Same. Some days better than others." A long pause. Then, "Do you think it's really gone?" Daniel looked out at the darkness beyond his porch light. "Yes," he typed. "It's gone. We killed it." Another pause. "Good," Elena sent. "Talk soon." Daniel set the phone down. The night was quiet, just wind and distant coyotes. Normal sounds, earth sounds, safe. He stood, stretched, headed inside to sleep, stopped in the doorway. On the small mirror by the door, something caught his eye. His reflection, normal, tired, older somehow than he'd looked 4 months ago. But as he watched, just for a second, his reflection's eyes were wrong. Too large, too dark, reflecting light in a way human eyes didn't. He blinked. His reflection blinked normally. Brown eyes, human eyes, his eyes. Nothing wrong. "Stress," he said aloud. "Just stress. It's gone. We burned it." His reflection didn't answer. Outside, a coyote howled. It sounded almost like laughter. Daniel closed the door, locked it, triple-checked even though it was gone and dead and burned. Then he went to bed. And if he slept with the lights on, that was his business. And if he woke up convinced someone was standing in the corner, well, the therapist said nightmares were normal. And if sometimes he had to look twice in mirrors, that was just trauma. Just stress. That's what he told himself. Every day, every night, for the rest of his life. Outside, the reservation slept. And deep in the ground where Daniel had reburied the pouch, something stirred slightly. Dreamed, remembered, waited. Because the elder was right. Nothing is forever. Even sleep, even death, even the distance between Earth and the stars was just space. Just emptiness waiting to be crossed by things hungry enough to find a way. And somewhere, in a different orbit, a decommissioned space station spun through the void. Empty, abandoned. And in that station, in cold storage, something that looked like Commander Sarah Chen opened eyes that shouldn't have worked. Sat up, smiled. The relief crew had checked for survivors, had confirmed 2 dead. But they'd made one mistake. They'd assumed empty meant dead. Commander Chen stood, checked the systems, started planning. Because the Skinwalker had taught her something before it died. Had shown her what it meant to wear a stolen face. And she'd learned. When the salvage crew arrived in 6 months, they'd find Commander Chen alive. They'd be confused. They'd run tests. And she'd smile and tell them whatever they needed to hear. And then she'd walk among people again. Real people, warm people full of identities waiting to be worn. And she'd hunt. Patiently, carefully, learning from the Skinwalker's mistakes. Because the thing was dead, burned, gone. And Chen, or what wore her, had learned so much. She hummed quietly to herself as she waited. Country roads. Jim's favorite song. Almost perfect now. Almost. Well, boys and ghouls, that wraps up another terrorific tale from the vault. Poor old Daniel. Took the Skinwalker to space thinking distance would save Earth, but some things learn faster than fire burns, and Commander Chen's got 6 months to perfect that smile. Just how we love it. Hit subscribe. New nightmare tomorrow at 8 p.m. Remember, distance isn't safety. Until next time, kiddies, keep your fires burning. This has been your late night creature feature. I'm Mr. Wendigo, and the void is always learning.